You want to be able to feel that you outsmarted the system. The system includes the seller. The system just includes everybody. I won.
The beauty of it, he comes and he calls the entire family. Guess what, guys? I got an Uber pool. It saved me 120 bucks.
So that whole paisa vasool thing is ingrained at every layer of usage.
While we're rooted to a very collectivist culture, we're also rooted to some degree of fatalism. We Indians must be the best negotiators in the world.
We Indians will bargain for every last 10 rupees of a sabzi wala's ready. And then few minutes later, we'll go and buy a 1 lakh rupee iPhone. And the crazy part is that they are rooted in exactly the same concept, which is what we're going to talk about today. A simple concept of paisa vasool, which is right at the core of all of us as Indians. Hi, and welcome to our new episode of I'm Blown. My co-host here, Siddarth, and I will be talking about this really cool subject today. Siddarth, let's go.
So the other day I went shopping for vegetables. I think it's the first time I must have gone in about 10 years. Most of it has been outsourced. I have the privileged one. So I went and shopped for vegetables because there wasn't anybody else to do it. So I went to this market in Hoskas, which is in Delhi, and I had to buy some oranges and strawberries and gobi and the whole lot. So this guy gives me these 2 bags, and then he says, and I take the 2 bags and I pay the money, and he says, "Sir, chili, sir, dhania." I'm like, "Nee, sir, free hai." I said, no, I don't want it. And that's when it struck me that by nature, you get the dhania free. Which of course I had no clue.
He was feeling cheated that he couldn't give you the freebies.
Yeah. But then here's the deal. I went back home and then I was asked, where's the dhania? so yes, it is rooted to get the dhania free, and enough and more is written about it. Let's talk about what's driving this.
I think somewhere there is a real important sense for all of us as Indians to feel that we've got more than we deserved almost, or more than anybody else gets. So it's almost like, I managed to outsmart the system. So there is a winning mechanism that is very, very important for us in whatever we buy. You could be buying vegetables, you could be buying a mobile phone, you could be buying a car. But you want to be able to feel that you outsmarted the system. The system includes the seller. The system includes your competition, which is another consumer. The system just includes everybody. I won. That feeling is very important for all of us as Indians in any purchase situation.
When you said this, I won, I have to tell you the funny story that I keep narrating in my class. So there's an uncle of mine who drives around Delhi in a chauffeur-driven BMW X3. I think the price of a BMW X3 must be what, 60, 70, 80 lakhs, somewhere on that ballpark. Yeah. And there was once when he was landing in from somewhere, he landed into Delhi T3 airport, and the car wasn't available to him. So I think for the first time, he had to book an Uber, or maybe first few times. And this was about 4 or 5 years back. And he logs onto the Uber app, and he books an Uber pool. Okay?
Wow.
Which is...
And I'm assuming that wasn't an X3. I'm just
It was an X3.
Yeah, of course
it
not.
was a Swift Desire.
Yeah.
Or for that matter, an Alto. I don't know what they drive now. But he got into an Uber pool. But the beauty of it, he comes and he calls the entire family. Guess what, guys? I got an Uber pool. It saved me 120 bucks. So yes, he believed he won.
That sense of having gotten more is crucial. But but what's interesting is why that is. I mean, it's very easy for us to kind of pin this on everyone's got a winning kind of mentality in the system. Maybe it has a sense somewhere in that whole scarcity thing that we've all grown up with through the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s to some extent. And that is a big factor that, we want to get a lot more out of less.
Yes.
There is that thought process. So I think that's one reason. Anything else you can think of?
No, I think there's a scarcity and efficiency mindset. We want to be as efficient as possible. Even the longevity of using products.
Stretch it out
as much as possible. Stretch as much as possible before you sort of, replace it, or for that matter, repair it. And then reuse it again, right? So there is that sort of efficiency and scarcity. mindset that sort of plays out. And I think it still plays out. We covered that even in our episode of the rupees 10. And we spoke about how people use a rupees 10 kind of product for portion control, for maximizing a product for as long as possible.
Delaying the next purchase as much as possible.
In that sense.
And of course, that out of that comes the whole paisa vasool kind of thing that we talked about, that, how do you maximize value and maximizing usage out of that same 1 rupee, 10 rupee, 100 rupees, whatever you spent. It's like, you suddenly got reminded of this. A friend of mine once used to always tell me that, whenever they buy a new phone, they make sure they put like a film on it, and there's a case on it, and all kinds of things. To a point where personally I feel you're not even getting the joy out of using the device anymore, because you're not really using the device. You're using all the skins around it. And only because so that you're able to resell it 3, 4, 5 years down the line without any scratches and dents. Again, you've stretched out the value because your resale value will be greater. So that whole paisa vasool thing is ingrained at every layer of usage in products.
The paisa vasool, the maximizing an asset for as much as possible, it's clearly rooted to India. I remember even this exercise that we did when I was working for this large MNC company, and we had middlemen and we had distributors. And we wanted to understand how distributors run their business. So we modeled our business and said, listen, if we ran this business, how would we run it?
Right.
So we said, okay, let's take a business of a distributor. Let's assume he does X amount of rupees. How much of inventory does this person need to carry? And then we looked at stacking norms, and we looked at all sorts of things. And we said, oh, for this amount of business, this person needs X amount of square feet. And then we calculated the commercial rent of that square feet. I said, my God.
Can't do it.
How can he do it? Because he'll run out of money. We're giving that person a certain amount of margin, but the rent itself is a large portion of that margin. So how is this person managing? So we said, okay, let's go out and see what actually they do. And this was in Bombay.
Wow.
Right? So you can imagine Bombay. And if we had needed, let's say, 500 square feet for that inventory, the distributor was managing 150 square feet.
Wow.
Just putting it in some shape, up, upper, niche. And, it was just this real efficiency mindset that drives, in fact, a lot of entrepreneurs. We've even heard of, wholesalers literally keep zero margin, but make money out of the boxes, right? They sell those boxes in that sense.
I've heard of that one as well. And to some extent, we're going off the topic here, but this whole jugaad mindset comes in there. And that's probably another episode at some point. But the jugaad thing, of course, it has positives and negatives, is what is often used to maximize the value in this situation. And that's what makes, at many levels, that's what makes India tick. Going a level deeper, Sid, we were talking about it off camera earlier, that free versus more value, right? So what is your thought on the Indian mindset of, let's say, for example, I get X product free with Y product versus getting a discount on the Y product itself? How do we kind of react to that?
You're touching a nerve. And whatever I say, please remember that at the end of the conversation, we'll still be friends.
Okay.
Because I've had many pricing.
I don't promise anything, but go on.
We've had many pricing conversations about what we should do, what should be the right price, should we give a discount, should we give free, across many meetings. And I've left most of those meetings a little thorny, right? But having said that, you've poked the bear, and let me tell you what I think works. I think pricing and promotion and discount is incredibly psychological. I don't think there's any rationality to it.
And thus emotional.
Right? So, for example, when we launched Greek yogurt at Epigamia, we wanted people to try, right? So, therefore, there were a lot of places where we gave them 50% off, 40% off. Right. But the problem is that nobody really wants Greek yogurt. There is no value. Like, why should I buy Greek yogurt, right? Why should I do it? In that scenario, a price off did not really work. But when we gave it free with milk, there is no risk to me buying that product. Right? Oh, I'm getting this free. So I think, and milk is something that invariably people buy. So the point I wanted to make is it's incredibly contextual, according to me. I think in India, yes, when you see something free, it clicks, but that it's free with something useful. Right. Because that something is not useful, then the free does not really make sense. But, for example, if I said buy one Greek yogurt and get another one free, I don't think would have worked as well as
because the one you're buying in the first place is what you did not
what
want.
you did not
Yeah,
want.
fair
so,
point, yeah.
So it's incredibly contextual and incredibly psychological. And like you said, it's incredibly emotional. Did I win? Is it a better deal? Am I feeling good about it? And therefore, it's incredibly contextual what we end up doing.
I think what's also important here is having a very clear visible gain, visible value that you've got, right? For example, like you said, I've got this Greek yogurt with the milk. Maybe somewhere I wanted to try the Greek yogurt, but never really wanted to pay money to try it. This way, I'm getting to try something of great value to me. Hidden value, but value. So the visible gain is I've got something versus, that classic cashback. Now, we love cashback. Yes. Indians love cashback, even if it's 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees. But if I can get something physically value,
yes,
that is even greater than cashback. Correct. So even on, for example, airtime. If I'm getting 20% more airtime, that I might say, this is greater value rather than getting 20 rupees cashback. Wo pata nahi when it will come, how it will come. So that visible gain is a crucial trigger. Having said that, I think what I've read a lot about this for non-Indian markets, and it's an interesting thing because one would say human tendency, everybody loves free. But very often in Western markets, maybe because they are more developed, there's almost a certain amount of bad feeling, suspicion about free. Why is this 20% off? Was it too expensive in the first place? Is this a bad product? Were they selling it for too much earlier? I don't want to take a chance. Apparently in India, that's not a big factor.
That's interesting.
Great visible value flies as long as it's a dependable or a reliable brand / known product.
Some fame about it. So you're saying the West would see it with some degree of suspicion?
Suspicion is what...
Product too old? Is it really not selling? Is there something
is what research has often shown
with it? That's interesting. But the West also has formats that solve for it. So, for example, if I know in the West, they have very clear retail environments that solve for heavy discounts or heavy, freebies. They have what they call discount stores, or they have what they call what is that called?
You're talking about the Costco's of the world.
No, not the Costco's of the world. But I think there are discount stores and then there are factory outlets, right? Those are formats that cater to the fact that, listen, these are not the best products and therefore you're getting a discount. And therefore, when you see that freebie in a format that you tend to believe that you get at a decent price or
there's no suspicion there because it's being stated as lower value in some way because of a factory defect or an old model. Correct. Or whatever.
And factory outlets in India is a very sort of new phenomenon. It's not sort of, it's coming in, but it's not really there. But in India, you're right. I mean, we don't see free as a problem in many ways. The other thought is how cultural is this? I mean, I'm going back to that, gaming and winning concept. How cultural is it to India? I mean, I read somewhere that while we're rooted to a very collectivist culture, we're also rooted to some degree of fatalism, which is to say, listen, and that's social hierarchies. It's entrenched in India that upward mobility is not necessarily possible. Right? From a class standpoint, from a caste standpoint, while that's changing in India. But despite the fatalism, there's always hope. We're never short of hope. And that hope is something that leads to gamification, jugaad, trying to get that squeeze, that extra win. Absolutely. I'm not looking at moving into the next orbit, but I'm looking for that small win, right? And that small win is what we want. And small wins on a daily basis is what's driving looking for the right deal in many ways.
It's a very emotional area. I mean, in the sense that in every situation as an Indian, I've found that most people are looking for that win and are also looking at that in this transaction, am I getting adequate respect, let's say, that am I being valued in this transaction? So very often when you were talking about buying vegetables or fruit or whatever, you want to leave that counter feeling like this guy gave me something which makes me valued as a customer, right? And I'm sure that happens at every level. And I was telling you earlier about, there are so many of my friends who will talk about buying the most expensive cars, but will always talk to 5, 10, 15, 20 people, friends, relatives, WhatsApp groups. Do you know someone at this dealership? Do you know someone in this company where I can get a good deal? Now, we all want a good deal when we are buying something, but what I've noticed with a lot of my acquaintances is that you're not only looking for a deal, but you're looking for a deal better than someone else got.
Oh,
so if the person is, you know what, here I know somebody who got 2 lakhs off, but I got 2.5. Now that's a win. Now he may not know somebody else who got 3, but in his worldview, he's got a deal better than anybody else. That's the win he wanted. That's this company, this dealer values me. I walk out a winner. So of course I save the money, but that is great.
We Indians must be the best negotiators in the world.
Also true.
Yeah,
Also
probably
true. Yeah.
true. There must be some research about it because of the fact that we are always negotiating at every point in time, trying to get the best deal, speak to the right person, try and seek the best sort of win.
Jugaad
We
everywhere.
must be one of the better negotiators in the world, for sure. But that's interesting. We should open that up a little bit more. What else? We spoke about culture. We spoke about upmanship. We spoke about just emotional value of sort of getting that deal. But let's bring back the conversation. I'm going to poke you. Do you really think free is better than extra?
You know, I think if you ask me at an analytical level, you sit down and analyze it, frankly, they're probably the same. Because you and I have both been in boardrooms where people will beat the calculation down to the last fourth decimal to figure out which is better. So most brands, when they're launching either one of those, the deal is likely to be exactly the same. It's just that the perception of each one is different, right? So at an analytical level, my answer to you would be they're both the same. But I think free just always feels better. You know, a little bit more rather than a price off always feels better. So that's something that I've always found as a consumer, that, you know, I just go away feeling that, oh, I got more.
I got more.
Yeah. Which also may be coming from that scarcity mindset, you know, that more is better than the scarcity that I've always kind of lived with.
Probably. And I need to extend the product as much as possible.
And,
utilize as much as possible.
Just comparing that for a moment, Sid, with a Western market, we were talking about Western retail formats, a Costco, for instance. Now, there people buy large quantities at lower prices, not for value, but for convenience, because they save time. There's space to store it at home, right? So you'll buy maybe 30 soaps in one shot, and you'll keep it in your storage because you just don't want to go back and buy it again, because you're going to have to do it again. There's no 10-minute Blinkit from Costco in the US or wherever. So there they value time and convenience a lot more, I think, than we do in India. So we have a far greater value for the price side of the equation than the convenience and the time part of the
That's
equation.
a good point. So in fact, in the Western markets, again, they have different formats. There is the big box store that you travel 20 kilometers and you probably get, you can pantry load, and in that pantry load, you can also get a deal. And then there's a convenience store which will price the product 20-30% more. Correct. And that's something that I'm willing to close by. In India, those formats don't really exist. Which brings me to the point of pricing. It's interesting, and pricing, I believe, is incredibly emotional. And I was narrating this incident. You've had boba tea?
Yes, I have. Yes.
I don't particularly fond of boba tea, but
I've had it because my son loves it.
It's a rage in that sense. And if you go to these markets, they have these boba tea sort of cafes or stores.
It's
I don't know
a strange kind of emotion. That thing popping in your mouth is nothing like anything else.
Yeah. So you pop into that cafe and it's well lit. It's nice. There are people, and the person who's personally making, you choose. There are some 20 variants of boba tea, and you choose one, you pick one, and you shell out $150-200, and it's a rage, right? But every time you want to have a boba tea, you have to travel 5-10 kilometers to the nearest market and have it. Now, imagine if that boba tea came in a can and came into your neighborhood grocer. Would you pay $150? No, you would not. In all likelihood, you would not, because you're not anchored to pay that price on that store.
And it's the experience.
It's the experience of it, right? So the experience of it says that, I'm shelling out $150-200, I'm being very happy. But suddenly I'm sitting at home and I want to go to my neighborhood grocer. Will I shell out $150 for the same boba tea? You will not. And therefore, pricing is incredibly anchored. It's incredibly emotional.
Absolutely.
Beverages is a classic example. I mean, when you want to get a quick drink on refreshment, a Coke, you will pop down, you'll go to the neighborhood pawn shop and you'll pay 5, 10, 15 rupees for that Coke. But let's say you're going on a road trip and you stop at the neighborhood, middle point, right? And you go there and say, I want to have a drink. You'll have those big Coke or Pepsi refrigerators. you're not going to spend 10, 15 rupees. You'll be happy to spend 80 to 90 bucks for a nice new cold coffee or a
For
new
that
power
matter,
drink.
in movie theaters, yeah, it's just the whole shift happens, and like you said, the whole perception of value is so anchored,
So anchored.
with where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, and all of that.
Got it.
That's interesting.
So pricing is incredibly emotional. The other thing about pricing, which I've experienced, is price recognition. You know, a lot of times in boardrooms and in meeting rooms, we debate about whether we want to move from 35 to 37.
Right.
And there's endless calls. But when you go and do research to a consumer, they don't have recognition to your product price because they're habituated by MRP. So they believe MRP hai, so I don't need to overthink it. They will know the price of onions because they're debating price of
Right.
onions.
There's
on a daily
variability
basis.
there.
Variability there. But my Nescafe, you know what? I have not realized my Nescafe has increased 30 rupees. Only when it goes by a certain point that I realize, oh, the price has actually increased. And again, there it's more perception-led in that sense. So the reason I bought out is that I think pricing, promotions are largely emotional decisions.
Value. It's a sense of value. It's a sense of whether I'm being valued in this transaction. And this is likely to be far greater where there's variability in price. The MRP ones will probably not have that much of an aspect, but places where there is an outcome to bargaining, negotiation, like you said, that always has
Always happens.
a great thing.
Always happens. And, nowadays, recently I went and bought we didn't buy an air conditioner. We bought a TV. And we went into one of the leading players and we got into the store and he was telling us the TV that this is the price of the TV. Right. This is the discounted price. This is the showroom price, and this is the price I'm giving you extra. And guess what? If you pay on EMI, I'll give you even more. And I was like, okay, I got you till the point of EMI, but I thought if I'm paying on EMI, I have to pay more. No, don't worry, sir. You pay on EMI, you'll get another 5%. So I was like, wow.
It's crazy. And there are so many players in the system, especially in white goods and grey televisions and things like that, the financer comes in and the financer's got his own schemes going on. It's mind-boggling, yeah. It's mind-boggling. And I think that whole ecosystem has gotten created because it suits the consumer, right? And very often the consumer might be thinking they've got great value when they haven't, right? Because the whole mechanism is set up in such a way that you feel great about it. That's the crucial thing.
What that left me thinking is that the next time I buy a TV, I'm going to negotiate. So I went into that store saying that, you know what, whatever the price is I need to buy.
Stick a price, let's go.
Price. Yeah. But now that I know that, listen, there is this one, then this, and then second, and third, and fourth, I'm going to negotiate. So it is the nature of the retail environment is that you will negotiate. Yeah. And I think that's...
Like the vegetable guy who was not happy because you didn't take his mirchi.
Yeah. I'm getting smarter at this. So now I'm going to negotiate in most retail environments.
But that just reminds us that it's there at every product level. Price level doesn't matter. It's an emotional thing for all of us Indians as consumers.
No, bang on. It's incredibly emotional. And I would urge most brand managers to think of it as a very emotional decision because you can unlock a lot if you get it right. Yeah, so I think it's an incredibly emotional decision. It was a fun conversation. We are still friends.
Absolutely.
Thankfully because most conversations I've left on pricing and freebies I've made enemies.
Absolutely. But this is a very, I can imagine going deeper into this rabbit hole and finding out more. It's a great conversation.
Great.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Very interesting conversation. If you've seen things like this in the market where people are gaining value, you're seeing an emotional decision, do drop in your comments. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you soon.
Bye.